boy. That was about as bad of a loss for the Utah Jazz as maybe I've ever seen. As bad as dominating a performance from a team beating the Utah Jazz as maybe I've like this Celtics team is so good, and maybe the Utah Jazz are just bad, or maybe the Celtics are just that good that they could just spank the Jazz like that. It was bad. But let's talk about it, because that's what we do. It's the Hoops Nerd postgame show. All right, guys, let's get into this. Rough night for Jazz fans. Rough night for the Utah Jazz. Rough night for Quinn Snyder. Really not a lot of great things, but let's talk about the Celtics first. This Celtics team, so I wrote the SLC Dunk preview. You can go there and read it, and just kind of talked about how good this Celtics team is. In the last 23 games, they are 20-23. They have the number one defense in the league in that span. And they have the number one defense, number 3 offense in that span. After tonight, likely number 1 in both. They absolutely shellacked the Utah Jazz. I don't know if there's enough adjectives or whatever word. How is it? The describing words, adjectives. I think. I don't know. I don't even know anymore. Me dumb. Celtics destroy my brain with their power and domination. But anyways, they just completely annihilated the Jazz, and it's something they're doing. I mean, honestly, in the Jazz's defense a little bit, the Celtics have been doing this to a lot of teams. Like, I think in their last 3 games, they've won by like a combined 70 points, although half of them are tonight against the Utah Jazz. But anyways, the Celtics are just really freaking good. Jayson Tatum is just a monster lately. But yeah, so 21 of their last 24 they've won after tonight. Shout out the Utah Jazz, the Jazz of Utah, and their performance. But Jayson Tatum, I mean, what can you say? I mean, tonight he was just unbelievable. 9 for 15 from the 60, 62, 100. Those are pretty good splits for percentages. Shout out to the Boston Celtics fans. If you're here, congrats to you. Congrats to you for your season turning around. What the Jazz had is a pretty good season to start, and it went to crap. And the Celtics kind of were the opposite. Their season was like a 500 season or more or less. And then it just like took off. Shout out to Ime Udoka for being awesome. Not a shout out tonight to Quinn Snyder. There will not be one given. Well, I guess I said the word shout out, but there's not a shout out to him. You get the opposite of a shout out. You get a whisper down, or a whisper in. Opposite of a shout out, a whisper in to Quinn Snyder. A whisper in. Take that, Quinn Snyder. I bet that hurts your feelings. But anyways, Jayson Tatum tonight was unbelievable. He is earning his way into All-NBA. And going to earn himself a lot of money on his next Supermax contract. And he's deserving of it because he's freaking awesome. One of the things about Jayson Tatum is tonight, because I try to watch all the teams. I cannot all the time, especially covering the Jazz for SLC Dunk and for this channel. I don't always have time to watch all the games. But actually, honestly, the Celtics are one of those teams I like to watch here and there. I know, weird coming from a Jazz fan. I like Marcus Smart a lot, and he was a guy that I was kind of hoping the Jazz would trade Mike Conley for, and they did not. And so that didn't work out too great for Utah. 13 assists for Marcus Smart tonight, so that's pretty good. And at this point, no. Christian, house money to Haas. The Jazz will not be getting Marcus Smart. They will not. They will not be getting Marcus Smart. Trade deadline's over, and I doubt they'd even do that anyway at this point anyway. So, but Jayson Tatum tonight, you can see the percentages. They're out of this world. But what I was wanting to say is that I watched him for his defense because, one of the things, I listen to Bill Simmons, I listen to Zach Lowe and all these guys that honestly there's a little East Coast bias, but that's okay because I don't always get to see the East Coast guys being a Mountain West guy, West Coast. And they talk about his good defense, and he was good. Like, his defense is legit. He's a good defender, legitimately good defender, and maybe great defender. I don't know. But he was good tonight. And on the wing, when you have a guy that can do what he does offensively like this, and then on the other end, be a good wing defender, I mean, that's what makes you a superstar. And that's what gets you all NBA, and that's what makes your team win. But it's not just Jayson Tatum. This whole team is just like, I mean, what would I give if I was a Jazz fan? You watch this Celtics team defend, and they just swarm the perimeter, and they just like make everything hard. It really kind of starts with Marcus Smart, and that's why I love that guy with the energy he brings. And I know like the shot selection sometimes isn't great, and if you're not a Celtics fan, you get a little annoyed with like the flopping and things like that. But man, if that guy's on your team, you love that guy. You know, it's just how it is. You love the guy that just gives his all at all times, and that's what he does. And tonight, 13 assists. It's freaking amazing. Freaking amazing. So shout out to Celtics fans. Congrats to you. Our pain is your gain. All right. And Al Horford, that was a nice signing. He looks like old, same Al Horford as before, who was really good. He's just that guy that's not going to put up like huge, massive numbers, but he just helps you win because he's a good defender, good passer, makes the right play, moves the ball around. I mean, look at this: 3 assists, 6 rebounds, 9 points. He only had, he played 31. If you're a Celtics fan, you probably don't want him playing too much. This is probably a little, and just from my opinion, maybe I'm wrong, let me know, but I would rather have Horford playing in the 25-minute range just to keep him fresh, especially when you just absolutely blow the doors off the Jazz like they did tonight. But he's really good, and he took 5 threes and made 3 of them, and that was all the shots he took, and good for him. Robert Williams also starts, so it's funny, the Celtics are doing the things that the Sixers couldn't, where they had Al Horford playing the 4 and Robert Williams is the starter. And Robert Williams is another guy who I have always been kind of a fan of. The guy does a lot of what, the Jazz try to do with their centers, with rolling to the rim, being a rim protector. His athleticism is just very apparent. And when you're a guy that rolls to the rim and you're that athletic and you've got good hands, this is what you shoot percentage-wise, especially when you got guys like this that are, assisting you the ball really well. 6 for 7 from the field, 10 rebounds, 2 assists. Good for him. Good for you. Good for you, Robert Williams. Time Lord. Jaylen Brown also, we talk about how good Jayson Tatum was, but Jaylen Brown was just as good tonight in a lot of ways. 5 assists for Jaylen Brown. He might have been better. Who knows? But he just can shoot that ball. It's just, the Jaylen Brown story is pretty amazing. The defense he brings and the shooting. Defense? Who says defense like that? The defense he brings. Just, I don't know. It's fantastic. They're just really good. And it's just crazy the difference this team has from the first half of this year to what they are now. Last 24 games, it's just like 2 different teams. And this team, honestly, I mean, they might be contenders. They might be the best team in the East. Why not? I mean, the last 23, 24 games they have been. And if they just keep this up into the playoffs and they play like this is a really good team. And it's just, you got to give a shout out to all these players who have just really shown a lot of heart and toughness and grit and have turned things around. This team was kind of soft last year, and it felt like you could just kind of get what you wanted against them. Not anymore. It does feel like that Derek White trade was a big deal. The funniest thing, or it's not funny, it's sadness. It's pure sadness. But this he has not shot, Derek White has not shot the 3 ball well since he's been with the Celtics. Not at all. It's 30% or worse. And of course tonight he shoots 2 for 3. The Jazz perimeter defense is that bad sometimes that he can just take practice threes and make them. Because honestly, the NBA players, all these guys, in practice, they're going to knock down their threes. Rudy Gobert knocks down 60% of his threes in practice. That's what NBA players do. But it's when you're on the court. But what happens is you have a bad defense like the Jazz, and a guy like this can get practice threes up during a game, and he does that. Then you add on the 5 assists, plus 18. I mean, pure and complete domination for this team. And what a nice pickup. Derek White's also a plus defender. Who knew that if you fill your team with athleticism and plus defenders at every position, plus defender, that you'd have the best defense in the NBA? Who knew? Who knew? Who knew? Okay, so one thing I'm thinking of doing, I had a conversation in my last video with someone about Donovan Mitchell. They were telling me, and it's fine. If you don't agree with me, it's fine. I've got to stop going back and forth with people in the comments, but it's kind of hard when the Jazz lose and I read them, and it's hard for me not to respond sometimes. Anyways, last game, Donovan Mitchell's shooting wasn't great. It wasn't. And honestly, the 3-point shot this year for Donovan has been a little shaky. It really was the first 20 games where his 3-point shot was just like in a slump. And since then, it's really turned around, especially post All-Star break. He's been knocking down a lot of threes. But last game, the Jazz lose to the Nets. It was not going down. But Mitchell scored 30. Tonight, Donovan Mitchell scored, what's your guess? He scored 37, and I know he was a minus 24, but Donovan Mitchell came out and did his job, which was score the ball. And he did it on 54% shooting from the field. Sure, the 3-point shot wasn't quite there, 3 for 12, but if he knocks one or more of these down, then it's a good percentage, okay? I mean, 33% is 50% from the field, so if he knocks one or more of that down, then it's like, I guess, not great, but it's good enough. Obviously, 5 for 12 is kind of the minimum you're hoping for. But he goes 8 for 8 from the free throw line. He's putting up points on efficiency, 37 points on 24 shots. I sometimes wonder, like, why people are, like, thirsty to, like, criticize Donovan Mitchell. Like, Rudy Gobert, I know sometimes I'm hard on Rudy Gobert, but that's because here's the thing. Donovan Mitchell's role is to be the lead guy on the offense and to score. And the Jazz have the #1 offense in the league, and he is the lead guy of that offense. And that's for the season, by the way. The Celtics probably overtook them tonight. I think in the last 23 games, the Jazz had the #6 offense, so it has tapered off. But Donovan Mitchell's the lead guy for that offense. And so even on nights where the percentages aren't completely great, when he's doing this, the assist numbers weren't there tonight, which is a bummer. But that's partly because the Jazz shot 22% from 3 and 39% from the field, which is partly the Celtics defense, which was incredible, and also the Jazz just like crapping the bed. But it's just, I'm sorry, it's not going to be very often that I'm going to criticize Donovan Mitchell for his offensive game, because honestly, he's going out there and he's being guarded by the toughest guys. And if we're being really honest, this Boston Celtics team has the best defense in the NBA. They are incredible. Like, Boston Celtics fans, you've got to be so happy with what you've got. Despite that, Donovan Mitchell still goes out there and puts up 37 on efficiency. So stop telling me he's a chucker. He's incredible. He really is. Donovan Mitchell deserves that All-NBA spot, especially over Trae Young. If that's a question, it should not be. Donovan Mitchell is a better player than Trae Young. It's not actually that close. But anyways, he does that against the Boston Celtics defense. That was the lone bright spot for this team. The Jazz could not stop them. We could look at Rudy Gobert, and I don't want to rag on Rudy Gobert too much because I think he was like fine in what he was doing. But the Jazz perimeter defense is just putrid. It's just putrid. And tonight, another bad shooting night from Mike Conley. At some point, we've just got to kind of talk and accept that this whole Mike Conley era has been kind of a disaster. I know last year the Jazz had that, incredible regular season with the incredible offense and the shooting and it was really fun. And Mike Conley was a big part of that, but the Jazz lost in the second round. The same thing that happens every year. And the first year he couldn't, he went, what was it, 1 for 23 in his first 23 threes for the Jazz in that first season. Last season, and then they lose in was it the first round of playoffs? I can't remember. And then against Denver, give up a 3-1 lead and hurt my soul. I lost a couple more years off my life from that. And then they go to the second round after beating the Grizzlies, where Mike Conley got injured in the first round because he was guarding Ja Morant. And he gets injured, and Donovan Mitchell had his ankle turned by that Sumner on the Pacers. And they go and they get, Quinn Snyder's coaching leads them to allowing the Celtics to come back, or the Clippers to come back from 3-1 as well. And so that's what the Jazz do, is they give up 3-1 leads in the playoffs and get swept out. The Jazz coaching is just spectacular. But anyways, I don't even know where I'm going with this. It's just the bright spot was Donovan Mitchell. The thing that was interesting in that argument, in the comments, and guys, I pay attention to the comments. I read them. If you know, sometimes there's things that I just want to respond to, and this is one of them. One of the things my friend in the comments said is that I talked badly about Trent Forrest, who, by the way, if anyone here is still talking about 0 for 3, minus 14, putrid, bad. For some reason, Quinn Snyder keeps playing him, but you know, he's a genius. So what do I know? I wouldn't want to question the genius of Quinn Snyder for putting a guy who can't shoot the ball or score points in a basketball game. But they told me that I can't blame. My point was last video. You can go watch it if you want. If you're a crazy person, you know, you can go watch it. But I talked about how having Trent Forrest on the floor makes it more difficult for Donovan Mitchell to be efficient. And I watched for it tonight, and I saw it happen 3 times. And one thing I want to do is on these videos, if there's a play I saw, I think this is kind of what we'll do with the highlights, is just highlight a play I saw that kind of I think is important to recognize. And it was kind of related to what happened with last game with Trent Forrest on the floor with Donovan Mitchell. Like tonight, it was a play where Grant Williams gets a foul, because I was going to post it up because it really put Donovan Mitchell in a bad spot, and Mitchell saves this possession. But it was this. Let's see, where's the personal foul? Unless it doesn't show me. Oh, crud. It might not show me. Does it show personal fouls? No, it doesn't. Well, dang it. I really, let's see. Maybe we can see if it shows it on here. Oh, no, it won't. Dang it. Well, anyways, I wanted to show how Trent Forrest, dang it, I wish there was a way. Oh, guys, this sucks. I should have checked this before the video because now I can't show it. Well, let's just go watch these 3 shots. This is a bummer. But anyways, this is Trent Forrest. Dang it, I wanted to show it because it was a perfect example where Trent Forrest just kind of dribbles it out. If Trent Forrest is on the floor, he needs to do that. Okay, you know what? Can we go back to that? All right, this is just on the fly because my plan just completely fell through tonight. Kind of like the Jazz's game plan, if there even was one. Let's see. So let's just dissect this play, and let's just decide how this helps the Jazz. All right, so we have Conley setting up a screen. This is a guard-to-guard screen and roll, which is kind of interesting. It puts him, Marcus Smart, and he attacks, gets the ball, but throws it out to Mike Conley, or out to Jordan Clarkson, and Jordan Clarkson is expected to just create a bucket at that point. Driving, floating, jump shot. Let's see this. Let's watch if this is helping the Jazz or not. I guess I don't hate that shot. Rudy scores on it. That right there is an example of why the Jazz's offense is so good still. Is this play right here. Because guess what? The Jazz offense isn't quite as good, and I think the Jazz offense, being the #1 rated offense in the NBA, is fool's gold. But one of the reasons why the Jazz offense rates so well is this right here, is when you have Trent Forrest shooting the shot, look who cleans it up. And it's part of why Rudy's numbers are so good offensively, is because he creates easy, high-efficiency buckets on offensive putbacks. And then this is the other reason why it's just rough. But let's see. Here, we'll just get through this, and then it'll play the next one. Come on. Oh, man, guys, tonight's not going very well, just like for the Jazz. My gosh. If the NBA.com site could work, that would be great. Okay, missed jump shot here. There we go. That's a block by incredible play. I guess that counts as a jump shot. I don't know. It was really bad, but Quinn Snyder keeps putting him out there. I wanted to show the play because what happened was he had the ball and he drives to the hoop. There's nothing there. He has no confidence to make anything. And so with 2.5 seconds left, he hands the ball to Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell is given the ball with 2.5 seconds left on the shot clock, and he's expected to create a shot. Donovan Mitchell is actually, because he is incredible, he created free throws out of it. It was that play where he faked it on the three-point line, and this one personal foul by Grant Williams was him fouling Donovan. Let's see. One of his 4 personal fouls was fouling Donovan Mitchell on the three-point line. because Donovan Mitchell faked him and gets the foul. Donovan Mitchell's incredible, and he created something out of nothing with 2.5 seconds left. And it was Trent Forrest that put him in that situation. And yet someone will complain to me that that Trent Forrest is not making things harder on Donovan Mitchell. You know, it's like, yes, Donovan Mitchell has some flaws. Yes, there are nights where Donovan Mitchell does not shoot the ball well. And when Donovan Mitchell does not shoot the ball well, it is difficult for the Jazz to win. But guess what? Tonight he only had 2 turnovers too. Donovan Mitchell had a very underrated night, to be honest. Now, the ball was not moving around, and you could probably quibble with that, but it might have been that the Celtics just tried to take away passing lanes, and it worked. Because Rudy Gobert was not a very huge factor in this one. He had 14 points and 11 rebounds. And 4 offensive rebounds is a nice sign, because that's something that he just did not provide against the Nets. And so that's a nice sign from Rudy. But one thing that teams are doing, and they know how to beat the Jazz, is they are taking away the Rudy Gobert, the Rudy Gobert pick and roll, whether it's with Mike Conley, Donovan Mitchell, whoever. Mike Conley had just 3 assists tonight. Mike Conley, who everyone tells me is like so freaking good, 9 points, 3 assists. He shot 33% from the field and 20% from 3. And yet there were people that were telling me there was no way they would trade Mike Conley for Marcus Smart. You kidding me? You kidding me? My goodness, I would give anything for someone with like the heart and defense and on-court impact of Marcus Smart. Isn't it crazy what's happened with the Celtics since they were having fights with? Remember when Marcus Smart and Jaylen Brown were fighting, and now they're just like the best team in the NBA. Literally, it's crazy. So anyways, that's too bad that we didn't have that play. But shout out to the Boston Celtics and Donovan Mitchell. Anyways, I just wanted to point that out. It's too bad that didn't work, but I don't know why Trent Forrest is playing over Jared Butler. It doesn't really make a lot of sense. And Jared Butler, when he's on the floor, is really good at setting people up. We've learned that. He's really good. But the Jazz have 9 games left this season. He has gotten next to no minutes. I mean, he's probably gotten, 20, 30 minutes total with, like, rotation players. You know, like Jazz starters. How many minutes does Jared Butler have with, like, starters? Like, the Jazz best players? Like, 15? Maybe. So the entire rookie year for Jared Butler has been wasted. And that's too bad, because we really liked Jared Butler in the draft, and he's shown some really nice flashes this year. And he cannot sniff a rotation spot. It's really strange. Nickeil Alexander-Walker in the last 5 games has shown some really nice potential. Can't find his way on the floor. Quinn Snyder is dead set on playing Trent Forrest, who was 0 for 3 tonight. He did have 2 assists, so that's good. And the defense is good at times, but it wasn't very good tonight because the Celtics were just absolutely dominant. So shout out to the Celtics being very good, and to Celtics fans. I think that's all I got tonight, guys. There's really nothing else. I think the other thing that, Hassan Whiteside was really bad tonight. And, like, there were people talking about how, like, people will complain about Quinn Snyder because they'll act like there's literally any other option than Hassan Whiteside. Guess what? If Hassan Whiteside's not playing bad, or literally anyone else on the team is not playing well, and that includes, I guess, maybe at times Donovan Mitchell, who maybe but I'd honestly be opposed to sitting Mitchell. But honestly, even Mitchell at times, if they're playing bad, it's okay to sit them. Especially Hassan Whiteside, though. Because if he's out there just siphoning points like he was, it was bad. If you don't do anything, then what are you telling your players? It's okay, I guess, to not play hard. Or you're just telling these guys right here that, it doesn't really matter what these guys do. You're never going to be on the floor. Ever. It doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter if Hassan Whiteside's not playing hard. You're not going to play. And I know Doak's injured, but I'm sorry. We've seen in the last 5 games that Juancho Hernan-Gomez can come in and actually hold his own. So why not at least try something different? I would argue, and like, look, Eric Pascal had a bad night tonight. He was not very good. 4 for 12, 0 for 4 from 3. It just wasn't very good. It's kind of rough to send him against the Boston Celtics and say prove it against the best team in the NBA, but I guess that's how Quinn Snyder likes to set his players up for success. But anyways, Hassan Whiteside comes in and just was not good at all. At no moment was he like helping the Jazz win. And people are like, well, guess that's it. Guess we're screwed. You know what? If you like said, you know what, it's not happening tonight, and you brought in Juancho Hernangomez, even if it doesn't go better, what that does is says, if you're not playing well, we're going to do something else. You know? And that might mean Hassan Whiteside doesn't like it, but you know what? He better play harder next time, or someone else is getting those minutes. But by doing nothing, you're telling them it's okay. It's okay you didn't try hard. It's okay you didn't do the right thing on defense. It's okay that you got scored on relentlessly. That's okay. Why? Because I'm not making any adjustment. I'm not going to put someone else in. You know, you could bring in Rudy Gay. We were told that Rudy Gay would be possible, play the 5 at times. Why not put Rudy Gay in at the 5? Why not try something different? Who knows? Maybe doing some other sort of different look maybe throws the Celtics off. But all we know is that by doing the same thing, it did not work. It did not go well. Doing the same thing and watching the Celtics just demolish it and just watching it over and over and over and over didn't work. And if you try something else, maybe that won't work either. Probably not. But what it will do is at least you might have a chance for something to go differently. 1. And 2, you actually hold someone accountable for their play. If they do not play well, then there's some sort of accountability. We will give someone else a shot. By not doing it, there's no accountability. Next game, Hassan Whiteside's going to play 15 minutes, and it's no matter what. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what happens this game. It doesn't matter what happens last game. That's just what's going to happen. And I know the Jazz perimeter defense is putrid, but guess what? It wasn't stopping anyone with Hassan Whiteside on the floor, so maybe you just try something else. Either way, it's you ensure the loss by not adjusting. You know? I mean, this team for so long, there is just like zero consequence if you don't try hard. It's just like, it's whatever. So I don't know. Honestly, guys, there's 2 things from this game. 1, the Celtics are incredible. They really are great. They're about as hot as you can possibly be. If they carry this in, there's 9 games left for the Jazz. I don't know how many is left for the Celtics till the playoffs, but obviously something similar. If they carry this into the playoffs, they are going to be freaking amazing. Utah, on the other hand, is obviously not as good as the best team in the NBA. And this loss was so bad. This loss was so bad, it started making me contemplate the tank note hashtag. You know what I mean? Because Utah has next year's pick. They don't have this year's. It's going to Memphis. And they could not trade next year's unless they want to do it on draft night. But I would contend you should not do that when you play like this. My gosh. It makes you wonder if they should just have a season where you have Donovan Mitchell just get his points and do his thing, and you go for another pick, and then you retool the next year. Something. I don't know. Honestly, I had thoughts about that because it's just so... It's rough to watch, guys. It's really rough. But anyways, I think that's all I got. I did want to just say, this has been a rough season, and everyone who supports this channel, you guys are amazing. Thank you for allowing me to just come on here and share my thoughts. There are things I say on here that I don't say on Twitter, although tonight on Twitter I got a little spicy, I guess. But I'm allowed to just speak my mind here and say what I think. And I know sometimes it makes people mad, and that's okay. This channel is a channel of honesty and straightforwardness, and we dissect these games game by game. And I actually think as a channel, we come up with like really good solutions and thoughts. And I appreciate you guys like allowing me to do this. I love going back and forth with you and talking about it. But anyways, I appreciate you guys more on the losses than the wins, because obviously the views aren't there with the losses, but you guys are still here, and it's amazing, and I appreciate it. And anyways, that's all I'm going to say about that. Let's give a shout out to our all-stars. These are the guys I'm talking about. Especially all our members, the rookies, the starters, and the all-stars. But I especially want to give a shout out to the all-stars. You guys are incredible. What you do for the channel is truly amazing, and I really appreciate it. Let's give a shout out to Christian House Money to Haas, Tyson Price, The Price is Right, Baby Elliott Matson, X marks the spot for Zintas, Jordan the Goat Best Roll, Joshua Hansen, The Danish Destroyer, and one Anton Warren, Ezekiel Rice-Ebay, The Man from Down Under, JT Buckets Wardell, Austin R. Grant, Editor Extraordinaire, Eric C. The C stands for Champion, Donald Schooley Schooling All of Us, DW to CB, Darren Williams to Carlos Boozer, Jorge Arrizaga, mi amigo de abajo, Lee Christensen driving the lane, Patrick Kubo, the connoisseur, and Robert Hall of Fame. Guys, that's all I got. Christian House, money. Whiteside has been showing that crappy attitude that gets him kicked from other teams. I agree. There's nights where it's like he's amazing and I love him and he has this amazing attitude, and then there's nights where he's sulking and he pouts and he like yells at other players, and it's not quite as fun. And so it's, that's kind of the Whiteside experience. And I guess maybe Quinn just decides that, he's got a volatile attitude, and so you have to give him his minutes anyway. And maybe that's why, but you know what sucks is when the attitude's bad and the Jazz lose. So I don't know. Anyways, guys, if you're new here, like and subscribe to the channel. If you haven't already, like the video, leave me a comment below. I wanted to say I got some new glasses. Do you guys like the glasses? Let me know if you like my glasses in the comments or something. Oh, you know what else? Let me know in the comments. Like, Quinn Snyder is apparently connected to possibly the Lakers, and he didn't like deny it when they asked him about it. So what would the Lakers trade? What would you trade from the Lakers for Quinn Snyder? What would you trade for him? What do you think they'd give us for Quinn? What would you be willing to take on? And I don't want to hear anything about Westbrook. Anyways, guys, if you're new here, like I said, like and subscribe. I appreciate every one of you. I will talk to you next